An estimated 1,000 people living in the tri-state area gathered at the Royal Albert's Palace in Woodbridge Township, New Jersey on January 29 to listen to Rajiv Malhotra, author and researcher on Indic issues, who presented highlights of his latest best-selling book, Snakes in the Ganga. Malhotra holds the view that several institutions, Harvard University in particular, are engaged exploiting India's fault lines, that the individuals who are part of this project are of Indian origin being trained by the Western academia, and that there are wealthy Indian businessmen who are funding Harvard knowingly or unknowingly. Malhotra labels them as the snakes. A press release about the meeting said, "The critical race theory, which is applied by some to address social structures in the USA, is being applied to Indian society without due diligence," according to Malhotra. Watch the highlights.
Are very good, I like it. But they want to encourage liberal arts. And the liberal arts they are encouraging are not Vedic liberal arts, but Harvard's liberal arts. This is a very serious problem. And they have brought liberal arts into IITs and IIMs. They want to bring liberal arts into medical education. Idea being to make the technocrat more well-rounded. That's very good, but well-rounded with what? So you're finding that now some of the worst opponents that I'm having to fight are in IIT Delhi, IIT Madras, because they are deeply involved with Marxist liberal arts models, and they've applied those Marxist liberal arts models to Dalits, to minorities, so they've come up with this whole Marxist, ultra-leftist view of Indian civilization. And this is really the problem. And to flaw with the NEP 2020 is that they should have first developed the Vedic social sciences and then said, okay, these are the social sciences we're going to introduce in all these colleges, without first developing our own platform and our own foundation, our own framework. Just opening the door to liberal arts means that all these guys from the Western education, all the Indians who got their training in these kind of Western frameworks are the ones who are capturing the universities in India, making the things even worse. So the problems that we are fighting here have been exported there. So now it's going to happen in a bigger way in India itself, which is not helping us but making it even worse. So that's the tragedy of not having funded and supported all these decades the proper study of Vedic social sciences and Vedic mind sciences, and just importing whatever the West produces. Some of the stuff that the West produces is Indian knowledge, digested into Western frameworks and sent back to India. So we take it as Indian. Like, for example, you've heard of emotional intelligence. Harvard guy wrote this book on emotional intelligence, and it's considered a brilliant breakthrough, and all these corporate people in India invite him and he gives talks about emotional intelligence. Okay? And what you don't know is that when he was doing his doctorate in Harvard, he writes, and these are old archives you can dig up, and I have dug up. He writes that he's doing research on Indian meditators and Indian mind sciences is doing, and he comes up that the idea of IQ is, as West has, is very limited. There is also other dimensions of intelligence. There are many parts of intelligence, and what IQ is only one part, and he wants to expand IQ and he brings in emotional intelligence. But he says that during his doctorate, people told him that if you bring in Indian religion, nobody will give you a PhD, so he got rid of it. It was basically plagiarizing. In a sense, he's plagiarizing because he's not quoting the sources. He's borrowing from sources, he's dishonest, not quoting them. I've confronted him and now he started giving a little bit of lip service once in a while. But the Indians themselves don't know that the whole emotional quotient and emotional intelligence movement came out of Indian thought. If you know anything about Sri Aurobindo, one of his models is called multiple planes and parts of being. If you read his book, The Life Divine, a major chapter is called Planes and Parts of Being. And he says that the being, which means us, in the inner being, has many planes and many parts in each plane. And yoga consists of looking at all these planes and parts and unifying them. And that is really the essence of this whole Maslow came up with the Maslow pyramid, which is very famous. And this other guy came up with emotional intelligence, which is also very famous. But these are based on planes and parts of being. These are based on that. So the ideas from India travel, they get digested, and then they get distorted, then they got exported back to us, and some of them are actually causing us harm because they're not authentic. So I have a 10-volume book series planned, which is not complete, but I'm going to publish it.